Hey guys, welcome back. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about figs, specifically give you my 5 reasons why I think you should grow figs in your garden, and maybe share kind of a gross little fact about figs with you guys. So let's just jump right in. All right, so before I give you my reasons why you should get some figs in your garden, let's talk a little bit more about figs. So they are one of the oldest cultivated crops, and I think they still continue to fascinate us all. I think a lot of people have them in their garden. I think a lot of people find that they're kind of like a prized tree to have, and especially for collectors, I think there's just such a fascination about figs, and you can't deny that every time you do see a fig tree, it kind of stops you in your track and you just want to look at it. I know that's the case for us. I think, sometimes we're driving through the countryside or the city and we'll see somebody with a fig tree and immediately we have to pull over and stop and take a look and try to guess what kind of fig they have. So they really are just like a fascinating tree to have. Now, although there are hundreds of varieties, there are 4 different types of figs. So that is going to be the Capri fig, the Smyrna fig, the San Pedro fig, and then the common fig. So the Capri figs only produce male flowers, and those are usually non-edible. Their purpose is to pollinate the female fig trees. The Smyrna figs, they bear female flowers, and they need to be pollinated by the Capri figs. So San Pedro figs are ones that produce 2 crops, and the first crop usually doesn't need to be pollinated, but the second crop does need to be pollinated by a male flower. So the common figs are the figs that we can find here in the US. So they've been cultivated here for many years. A lot of them are very hardy to our climates, and those don't need another tree to be pollinated. So those are the ones that you're going to typically find here in the US. Now, a lot of figs do produce 2 crops. The first crop is known as the Breba crop. Those are usually generally smaller and the figs don't really taste that great. The second crop, known as the main crop, that's when you get a lot of figs, and those are the really juicy and sweet ones. So we do have a lot of trees that do produce a Breba crop, but most of the time it's only maybe a small bowl of them, and then our main crop is usually the really big one, and those are the ones that have really juicy and delicious figs. So the most asked question about figs is, what about fig wasps? Are they real, and are we eating wasps? So the answer to that is yes and no. A lot of the different types of figs do require pollination through a fig wasp. So they kind of have a mutualistic relationship. I'm not going to get into too much detail because I have a science background, and my immediate response is to get really sciencey, and I know that's going to get really boring for a lot of you. So I am going to list a couple of resources down below in the description box if you want to learn more detail about how that relationship works. But in short, yes, there are such things as fig wasps that pollinate some types of figs. The chances of you running into those are pretty unlikely if you do have common figs. But even if you do run into a fig that was pollinated by a fig wasps, figs have an enzyme called phycin, and those will digest the bodies of those female wasps. So you won't ever see them or worry about you're going to open up a fig and there's going to be a wasp in there. And that shouldn't really gross you out because there are a lot of things that have insects. Chocolate, for example. So don't worry about it. This shouldn't turn you away from eating figs or growing figs in your garden. But it really is a fascinating process, and like I said, I will link down below in the description box kind of how that whole process works. I'll list some diagrams for you as well. But yeah, so let's not get too much into that relationship because I can make a whole video just about fig wasps and their life cycle and how they work and what they do and all of that. So let's get into the reasons why I think you should get figs into your garden. So my first reason why I think you should grow figs in your garden is that they're super easy to grow. Figs don't typically have a lot of disease. They're pretty adaptable to a lot of soil types. The main thing with figs is they really love sun. So the more sun you can give them, the better they're going to perform. We've had some that are planted in areas that are a little bit shadier, and those just don't produce as much fruit as our other ones that are getting 6 or 8 hours of sun per day minimum. So just keep that in mind. And usually with young trees, when you do plant them, you do have to water them the first couple of years until they're established, finish. But after that, they're pretty low maintenance. They're pretty, like I said, they're disease resistant. We will get into more detail when we plant our fig. We're going to be planting a fig in one of our next videos, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that, because I will talk about care and disease and what you can do to prevent your figs from experiencing any type of disease. So my second reason why you should have figs in your garden is that there are so many varieties to choose from. I did want to go down the list of some of the ones that we have in our garden. So we do have a Isha green fig. We have, that's also known as a strawberry verte. We have a panache fig, that's also known as a tiger fig. We have a couple of black mission figs. We have Peter's honey. We have Corky delight. We also have a brown turkey, or I think we might have 3 brown turkeys. We have the black Spanish figs. We have the king figs. That's the one we're going to be planting in one of our videos. We have a Violette de Bordeaux, which is one standing right behind me actually. And then my favorite is the Smith fig, which is this one right here. We call them our little babes because we ordered them from Louisiana a few years ago, and they came and they were just like tiny little things, and now they're so big and beautiful. They're pretty, we've had a hard time finding these figs. So we, you know, like this is a really prized one for us, and it's, again, it's our favorite fig. It is kind of a green fig, but once you cut into it, it almost looks like a strawberry jam inside. It's so juicy, it's so sweet, and it's got the most beautiful coloring inside. But yeah, like I said, we have 2 of these. They're kind of our prized figs out of all of the ones we have, and it's definitely mine and Sergey's favorite fig. I also like the Violette de Bordeaux. That is a really tasty fig, but I think this one, the Smith figs, really are our favorite at the moment anyway. Another reason why I think you should have figs in your garden is that they're super easy to propagate. So we propagate a lot of our figs just because it allows us to pick the perfect branching and kind of train them from the beginning. So we, like for example, this Smith fig, it would have been a lot bigger had we been pruning it like we're supposed to, but we've been kind of letting it just branch out because we are going to be selecting the perfect branches to propagate. We will be making a video, so make sure you guys keep a lookout for that, because we have a really simple and easy method of propagating that we are successful 100% of the time when we do it. So yeah, just keep your eye out for that. And you know, I think a lot of times people try to find things that they can kind of duplicate or propagate just because buying fig trees can be expensive. You know, a lot of them are a little bit pricey. So anytime that you can find something that to grow in your garden that you can split or divide or propagate, I think is so great. So that's what we love to do with our figs, and that's why we always have so many. Another reason why I think you should grow figs in your garden is that they're just beautiful trees. I think whenever I think about a fig tree, I think about the Mediterranean or Spain or just somewhere like exotic like that, just because I think, you know, that's where you find them, and they're just so beautiful, and they look beautiful in that setting, and they look beautiful in your garden. You know, I think when I'm buying like fruit trees, I don't look at just the fruit that I'm actually buying, but I'm also thinking about how that tree is going to look in my garden, because we do integrate a lot of trees into our landscape. We don't just have like a separate pasture for our fruiting trees, right? So I want whatever I am growing, especially if it's a fruit tree, to look beautiful. Now figs, you just have beautiful leaves. Sometimes they can be a little bit skinnier, sometimes they can be a little bit bigger. They turn a really beautiful yellow color during the fall time, and their trunk is so beautiful. They almost look a little fleshy. I'll zoom in for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. But if you ever look like at a plum tree and you come up to the trunk, it's a little bit rougher, where a fig tree, it's so much smoother. It almost has kind of a soft look to it, and I just love that look, especially in the winter time when it's just kind of, you know, it's bare trunk and the branches, but it still looks so beautiful. So, you know, think about that. You know, when you're growing things in your garden, like I mentioned, you want everything to look beautiful, not just your shrubs and your perennials, perennials and your annuals, but look at the trees that you're also putting in there, especially the fruiting trees, because there are, let's face it, there are some trees that aren't the prettiest. So yeah, they're just beautiful to look at no matter what time of a year. You know, if it's winter time, then you have the beautiful trunk and the branching, and they have just such a unique branching habit. During the summertime, of course, you have the fruits and you have the leaves, and fall time they turn this beautiful yellow, and it's just, I admire our fig trees all year round. So just keep that in mind if you're considering you know, a fun fruit to have. I think if you're looking for something that is aesthetically pretty to look at, I think the fig tree is the perfect contender for that. So my last reason why I think you should have a fig tree in your garden is that they're just the tastiest fruit, in my opinion. There's nothing like picking off a fresh fig off of a tree and eating it right there and then. It is so yummy, and they're so versatile too in the kitchen. You can make jams, you can make syrup. They're the perfect appetizer. One of my friends who's a chef, he grows figs in his garden, and what he likes to do is he'll half them, he'll grill them just like ever so slightly, and then he'll put blue cheese, prosciutto, and then he'll put walnuts and just drizzle a little bit of honey on top, and oh, it is so tasty. Or me, I just like to enjoy them on their own. I have some here that I actually harvested this morning. I have some brown turkey figs and some king figs. So let me cut into those and show you guys what those look like inside. So here's the brown turkey. Just look at all of that like yummy, tasty, oh, jammy looking goodness right there. And this is our king fig, which I think is a little bit sweeter. It kind of tastes like honey. Oh, it's so, so yummy. You guys, I'm going to have to take a bite. Mm. 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 It's so good. I mean, they're just crunchy, they're juicy, they're like sweet but not overly sweet. They're a little bit tangy, and I eat the whole thing. You don't have to worry about peeling it or anything like that. Mm. I'm gonna try the other one. Taste test. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh, that is perfection. Oh my gosh. I could eat this whole bowl right now. They're delicious. So I garden in Portland, Oregon, so that's zone 8B. And we do have a lot of varieties that grow really well in the Pacific Northwest. And some of those include the Celeste, the Vern's brown turkey, the Chicago Hardy, the Desert King, and I know there are some others, but the best way to find out which figs will grow really well in your area is just to go down to your local nursery and find out what figs they have available, or maybe you have a friend or a neighbor that has them. So the best thing to do is kind of look in your area, but usually nurseries are going to be able to tell you what figs are good in your climate. All right, well, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys found that helpful and educational, and hopefully you learned something. If you have a fig in your garden, please let me know down in the comments which one it is. I love to hear back from you guys. Or if you have any questions, again, just let me know and I'll make sure to answer those for you. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video and hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.